before the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests in the studio waiting to be profiled are Lelia Goldini and Hraztan Zeitlian. Actress, writer, educator, Lelia Goldini was born in New York City and went to PS3. Then she headed west with her family and Hollywood High. Were you always going to be an actress?
Well, there were two things I always wanted to be. One was a dancer, and the other was an actress.
So did you go on to school after Hollywood High?
No, I barely got out of Hollywood High. As a matter of fact, I got to tell you this. As a matter of fact, the attendance officer called me down there when I was a senior and said, "I want you to know that you are the only student in the entire film school here at Hollywood High that is going to graduate in 4 years with as many absences and tardies as you had." So that was my great honor at Hollywood High.
So you didn't go on, but
No.
I saw this kind of a education part of your resume.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a self-educated person. I mean, the art schools, dance schools, and the colleges, as well as acting schools, were not really the kind of tuned up as they are now. So that if you wanted to be a dancer, you had to go to a place that was focused exclusively on dance, like Lester Horton.
Where you went.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of your dance
right.
education, I guess.
It was the beginning of my life.
Lester Horton?
Lester Horton, yes. I mean, he was a great educator. He was someone who taught me that a great teacher is someone who speaks to each individual in a language that they can understand at the deepest part of themselves.
And then did you dance with his company?
Oh, yes.
You
yes,
did?
Yes.
I think you have a picture.
Yeah, you asked me to bring
see.
some.
Yeah.
Oh, but this is a picture of me.
Wait, don't get ahead of me.
Okay, I did wrong.
Carmelita Marachi.
Right.
Did she come before Lester?
No.
She came after.
I got to go to Lester Horton because of being this person.
Oh.
Because I was in the company and I was now a leading dancer, she gave us a scholarship.
Oh, well, show us then.
Yeah, this picture is of me when I was 17 years old, and I was performing Salome. Oscar Wilde's Salome, one of Horton's great choreographies. And this is what I looked like when I went to a ballet class of Carmelitas with 8-year-olds.
Oh, that's right, because she taught everything. But why did you end up in the 8-year-old category?
Because I never studied ballet, and I was a modern dancer. Yeah,
and you came in like this, toes
that's
in,
right,
and
that's
she
right,
wanted toes out, and she had toes out, and she had a stick because I remember her.
Right, she was brilliant woman, an extraordinary performer, and a great teacher. But she slapped me. She said, "Those hands don't belong in here," whack! And in front of all these 8-year-olds.
I know.
And I looked like this. I mean, they all looked at me like, and they were saying, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm going to look like this." And then she demeaned me that way. And I mean, I guess she was right.
Well, she used to really know how to teach people.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason that you went to Carmelita was because she wanted you.
That's right.
You couldn't just go there. If you walked in, she'd kick you out.
Certainly not for free.
No, not for free either, but but she wouldn't keep you. Then you have the Lester Horton picture.
Yes. I did a documentary called Genius on the Wrong Coast, and this is a picture of Lester making me up, and I was 15.
Oh, that's so great.
Isn't that great? It's really great.
So then your education took you to Jeff Corey.
And
who taught what? What did
acting.
you get out of? No, I knew he taught acting.
Yeah.
He taught acting, but what did you get out of it?
Well, first of all, the poor man was confronted by a completely nonverbal performer, namely moi.
A dancer.
All I wanted to do was to move my body. It was not a question of being able to say lines, words. And he made me sit on my hands and read lines because I couldn't do it.
Couldn't talk with that.
Couldn't talk without the whole body becoming engaged. And that's the way one was being very expressive. You know, I mean, that's how you said the words, was silently, you know, with the whole dynamic.
He taught that.
Yeah.
Then you went to John Cassavetes.
I went to New York and I went to John Cassavetes'
So we're all
workshop.
here in LA
yes,
up until this time.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I went back home
Okay.
to New York City. And I got in the workshop, and before you knew it, he decided we were going to make a movie. And that's where Shadows came in.
Oh, we have it. Oh, we have
it.
that
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's me.
And who was your co-star?
That was Tony Ray. And the other co-stars were Hugh Hurd and Benito Carruthers.
And Cassavetes directed it.
This was his very first film that he directed.
Were all these people in school with you?
Yes.
Or in class
Yes.
or in the workshop?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
So that was the very first one. Was he married then? Did he use his wife?
God, he was married forever, it seems like.
Did he use his wife?
No, not in this film. She was doing a Broadway play with Edward G. Robinson. And so, and this was really out of the workshop. It was the kind of thing that all of these people knew each other, we were very comfortable with each other, and we started to learn how to put together relationships.
Did they release the film?
Oh, yes.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yes.
So
Shadows. Roger Ebert named Shadows one of the 10 most influential films of the 20th century.
Was it in black and white?
Black and white, yes.
Fabulous. Yeah, he liked to work with that genre, didn't
yeah.
he? Then, Uta Hagen.
Then I studied with Uta Hagen. That was after that. And what a remarkable woman. You know, I have to tell you something. I saw her not too long ago in the play she did out here, the name of which escapes me. And I went backstage with a friend of mine, Len Lesser, you know, the actor, and we went to talk to her, and she looked at me and she said, "I know you." And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, I was in a class of yours." She said, "Yes, back in 19... I couldn't believe it.
I wondered how she even remembered her lines. So there she was. She remembered you as a student.
Yes,
or
as a student. She even told me what I did.
Isn't that great?
She said, "You did a whole scene in Italian."
That came easily, Miss Cecilia.
Yeah, right.
Sicilian.
Yes.
And then you went to Strasbourg, but you also taught at Strasbourg.
Yes, I taught at Strasbourg for 8 years.
And then what happened? Did that start changing? You were taking classes, then you started teaching?
Right. I studied with Lee for about 7 years. And then he went to New York, as he always did, and that year he died. And so slowly, you know, because of the studio and his death, one became very engaged with Anna Strasberg, and she asked me if I would like to come in and teach, and of course I did. And it was a wonderful kind of thing to do. I wanted to direct, and the thing about directing is you have to be objective, and actors must be subjective. So if you can't be objective, you know, you're divided all the time. And teaching is a task that you have to be absolutely focused.
Well, you have a great history in movies,
yes.
TV, movies of the lots of TV, lots of theater.
Yeah.
How did that make you able to be a director? Because then you directed videos and theater and a lot of other things, but you were basically in that other world.
Right. The thing about it is that, first of all, there was a great dance historian here in Los Angeles called Dorothy Bach-Pierre, and Dorothy Bach-Pierre in the documentary said, old dancers never die, they just do something else.
Oh, that was the Lester Horton.
Yeah,
and it's so true, isn't it?
It's so true, so true. And what happened is that you just find, you take what you know and build on it and build on it and build on it, so that knowing intimately how a performance is constructed, that means that you know a process that an actor will take. You, as a dancer, I understand what a stage is supposed to look like.
And how much you can cover.
That's right.
and
Exactly.
how you move on it.
Right,
I think
exactly.
that's one of the hardest things. You always have to bring a choreographer to move your actors
Right.
back and forth, right?
I don't.
No, but you would be the person who would do that.
Right, exactly.
So a person who knows a little bit about dance isn't awkward
Right.
when they direct.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you did direct
Right.
videos.
I directed videos, the documentary. I also did a play called Who's Looking After the Baby? It's a play that my husband wrote about my mother, who was a very interesting character, and did that. And actually, I've been talking to people about putting it on again.
Was that in Los Angeles?
That was
or
in
New
Los
York?
Angeles, yes.
Uh-huh.
Then we had the earthquake.
I
So
see.
then we didn't do anything for a while.
But you have workshops.
I teach workshops, yes. I mean,
You're teaching
yes,
workshops
I am.
now.
Yes, I am. I am.
And what do you cover in those things?
Well, the thing about it is that acting and art in general are what is, you have to look at it as a process. And that process is something that every actor, every artist must define for themselves. And a teacher really sets parameters and offers things and guides somebody so that they can come to that process for themselves, the creative process. And that's what I do.
But does it encompass everything, Lelia, or is it just acting? Or?
No.
No.
No,
See, you have to-
that's right.
Isn't it right? It has
Yes.
to be more than that.
The fact of the matter is it is about the creative process, in fact. And then there are also, of course, techniques that one uses and can use in film, on the stage, anywhere you want. But the creative process is something that all artists employ. I had a painter in class. He was having a block. And I said, come to class, see what happens. Well, he started painting, and he kept coming to class, and he's now in a play. His name is Seth Ernsdorf.
Is that right?
Yes, he got cast in a play in a very big part. So, I mean, it's the kind of division that we always make.
In the arts, exactly.
That we're doing now. It wasn't like that before. There was always the kind of interaction in Hollywood during the 50s.
I wasn't on the film commission in the 50s, but I was on the film commission in the 80s and 90s, and one of my biggest things was this cross-pollination, because everything had just stopped. Fund music, fund
Right.
dance, fund acting, fund theater,
Right.
when it should all be working together. Why aren't these artists doing sets for these theater people?
Exactly.
So we created, just 1 or 2 years, this interaction.
Right.
And I think that's how it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be that way. I mean, the fascinating thing about being in LA during the 50s and being a young teenager like that was that all of a sudden you were constantly being invited to art openings. You knew Keenholz and Altoon, and all of those people were part of the same group. I'd get invited to go to recordings of Frank Sinatra. He was taping or wire, whatever. You know, it was so long ago. It could have been wire. And listen to Frank Sinatra and Nelson Riddle doing. It was a remarkable experience. Wee small hours in the morning. I was mesmerized.
So you should be doing this crossover.
Yes.
You were doing it.
Yes.
As an actress, you were privy to all these things.
Yes. And that's what I want to do
We
again.
still are privy to them. We just haven't, the artists just haven't moved to each other.
We have not codified it. I think it's happening, but the way, I mean, everything today has to be identified and compartmentalized.
categorized,
Yes.
right,
So what
categorized.
has happened is if we just take it all away and call everybody who identifies themselves as an artist, then that cross-pollination will happen more easily.
Maybe that does start it. And we shouldn't have put actress underneath your name. We should have put artist. But that's what we really need. And I thank you for coming on and explaining that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lelia.
It's been a pleasure.
And don't go away, because we'll be right back with artist, we'll call him, Hraztan Zeitlian. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with architect Hraztan Zeitlian. Hraztan was born in Lebanon, attended the American University in Beirut, and in 1984 started the Rhode Island School of Design. After graduating with the Bachelor of Fine Arts, he went on to Columbia to graduate school. What did your graduate studies entail?
I took the Master's in Advanced Architecture, which is a special program for professionals who have already started practicing. They do advanced architectural studies.
Oh, and you had already started at Skidmore, Owings and
That's
Merrill,
right.
which was a very haughty firm for a young kid to be in.
Absolutely. I actually won a little competition to be an intern at Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and worked there for a little bit. At Columbia, an interesting thing was that I did a lot of studios that had to do with movie theaters. And just sort of conceptual studios, not very specific about building types or anything, but just about movie theater design and just the aspects of architecture having to do with movies.
But did Skidmore tune into that you were doing that at the time, or
no?
were they
Skidmore
not?
was just hardcore architectural, like corporate architecture to the utmost.
Because eventually, through your career, you started getting involved in malls and movie theaters and that
Absolutely.
kind of thing. You went on then, say, to Altoona and Porter.
That's right.
Where they were working on malls and
retail
buildings.
and
Retail.
entertainment, mostly renovations of malls or new mall construction.
So you were doing that?
Absolutely. I worked there for at least 3 years. And from there, I went on to RTKL.
Which means what?
Retail? I don't know. RTKL is like the largest firm in the United States that does retail architecture, mall design, mall renovations, new malls, and also entertainment architecture, meaning movie theaters and gaming centers and those types of stores.
So it was mostly retail development, town centers?
Absolutely. Entertainment centers. An entertainment center, just very quickly, is a retail architecture surrounding a movie theater, typically, and other entertainment venues, like a House of Blues and that sort of.
Oh, it entails all of that,
Yeah.
like a House of Blues type of thing as
Yeah.
well. I see. Well, how
Restaurants.
so then Gensler, which does hotels and that same kind of thing you're talking
At
about.
the same time, Gensler started developing in the Santa Monica office. Gensler is the largest architectural firm in the world, and they have their Santa Monica office started developing an entertainment division, specializing in, again, entertainment centers and retail and malls. So it was natural for me to go from RTKL, the largest firm doing that specialization in architecture, to Gensler.
Well, at Gensler, you all the way along you've been winning a lot of awards
Absolutely.
for your architecture.
Architecture work. A specific one award that was sort of important for me was Architecture Magazine, which is the most prestigious publication in architecture. Was an award on experimental architecture having to do with videos and animation.
Oh, well, that goes right back to your movie theater.
Absolutely. And what I had done was a very interesting idea was to put animated billboards in a setting, in an urban setting similar to, say, the Sunset Strip. So
on the street?
Yeah. But
Which
all
we have
animations.
now.
Yeah, which turned into becoming reality more and more as years went by. This was about 10 years ago at this point.
I see.
But those were animations. In other words, it's sort of like what Times Square became in the past couple of years. Everything animated, the walls talking to the people participating in those animations because they will be like in live feed straight into the animation screens.
Those were your ideas, but did the architectural firms go along with them?
They did not go along with them.
I wonder.
But it helped me sort of get into more and more of this type of architecture. It sort of opened up ways for me to develop in the corporate firms, showing these sort of more experimental ideas, but as a way of getting farther and farther.
We're going to go through that type of thing because you did something in Japan when you were at
Absolutely.
Gensler, I think. Do you have
I'm
one
gonna,
of these?
I'm going to start with that one, if you'd like. I'm going to pull it out, and this is the first project.
Tell us what this is.
I'm going to try to hold it.
Great.
This is a project in a city called Nakama. It's in southeastern Japan, in the island of Kyushu. It's about 12 movie theaters, and it's an interior project. It's in a multi-story entertainment building. In Japan, there's these huge buildings, several stories that has movie theaters in them, and also sort of gaming centers.
What would be different about this one that you did?
The specific interesting thing about this, though, is about creating an internal space energized by architecture and architecture as a piece of entertainment and is a sort of something about movie theaters. Each piece of architecture in this project is sort of an actor or a movie. It's like a theatrical stage setting, so to speak.
So is this bridge glass blocks?
This was glass block bridge lit from behind, so the entire architectural piece became sort of a stage set of lighting. And the other thing that's interesting is this element, which is sort of like a screen, to symbolic representation of the screen. It's this folded element.
Like they're walking into the theater that way?
Exactly.
I see. And then once they get in, on the bottom here?
This will be actually where they would buy their tickets. So they buy their tickets, and if you look at this view, they would take the escalators up, and they will be on the bridge. The bridge will lead to the theater galleries.
So it's a flow of people. Do they communicate? Is there?
They see each other throughout the floor, because if the lobby is this bridge, so you see people walking around.
Oh, I see.
So what the architecture does, it creates sort of a stage for people to interact and see each other walk around.
And then what was the other one?
The other project?
This one, down below.
I'm going to put this here.
Can you grab it up?
Grab the
for
other
us?
one. All right. This one is the AMC Theater in Disneyland in Tokyo. And this particular project is very exciting for me because it was an elaborate, very ornamental project.
The escalators look like they're all etched.
The glass is etched. This is a very expensive piece of architecture. Everything is custom stainless steel details. You see in the ceiling is a chandelier, custom chandelier. Very difficult piece to make. It's actually about 6 feet tall.
How many theaters?
This is about 16 theaters. To give you an idea, it's about 96,000 square foot. It's on 2 levels, so you have 8 theaters on each level. That's why you have these big escalators.
Oh, I see.
So the idea was to focus the public space around these escalators and to enliven it with this theatrical elements such as the chandelier.
Are the theaters big?
They're very big. There's about there's like maximum 500 person in one theater.
Oh,
There's
with that
2 of
many
those.
screens?
Absolutely.
That's really amazing.
So it's a lot of people.
So you spent a lot of time in Japan.
I had to go there twice. It was a fantastic experience. Craftsmanship there.
Then did you stay there once you got there? You stayed for a while?
Every time I stayed there about a week, full week.
And then what comes next? This
project that
this
comes
project
next,
that I have?
That project, actually, it's a computer rendering of this project.
Of the first one.
And what I wanted to show with that is, if you look at the real one, and if you look at the rendering, it's an interesting dialogue between the two.
Hold this down.
That one was the conceptual drawing that you're seeing on the screen. And what you're seeing here is the built version.
And then that one was the actual building.
Yeah.
I see.
So it's an interesting dialogue. I wanted to sort of like
hold
bring
it up
that
just
in.
a little bit. Tilt it
Pull
forward.
it a little bit.
There. Oh, I see. So you could see, you did it on the computer and then you did it there.
Right.
So what do you have to know? How do you have to make these people comfortable besides seeing themselves and buying tickets and creating this outdoor thing? What about actually sitting in a theater and seeing a screen?
I did not bring those images in because what happened in the beginning of the 90s is that movie theaters became this sort of stadium seating boxes. So it was all about the illuminated screen, and everything else is basically very muted colors, very kind of like background neutral. Most of the time it's black or very dark blues.
So you don't do anything in that screen?
You keep it very simple because people are mostly focused on the screen.
Well,
but the interesting thing, of course, is the stadium seating concept that came in the 90s, which changed movie seeing radically. And every step is about 18 inches high, so you see clearly above the other person. And
in that respect, I see.
There's about 3'6" between each step itself, so you have plenty of leg room.
The other thing, because I don't want to run out of time, the idea that you did this theater for the Krikorian theaters in Monrovia, and there's a whole chain of those theaters, you've gone into art. You've used an artist.
Absolutely. The idea in this theater that was very interesting was to try to do another symbolic representation of the movie theater screen, but this time interpreted as art.
I see.
And if you look at these renderings right here, these images, there's an actual painting sort of integrated in the walls of the lobby area.
Of Clark Gable,
Yeah.
from old movies,
From
I
old
guess.
movies interpreted by an artist to become sort of like part of the new media. What he has done, he has like used digital technologies, taken old images and sort of reinterpret them using computers and digital technology. But the interesting thing for me was the integration of art into the architecture in a sort of like a very expressive way. Which
But it
is
looked
what we
like
did
they were
here.
big murals. You used
Yeah.
Greg Bailarian, first of all.
I did, absolutely.
Gregory Bailarian.
Which I think it was he came here to talk to you.
And he interpreted what you wanted
Right.
into either a big mural and then
Right.
into these smaller
Right.
things.
What was interesting was the integration of art and architecture. These are three-dimensional objects. That was sort of the architecture part of it. And then he came in and he sort of put in his paintings within those niches. And there's like lighting around the niche from the front and from the back. So it became this kind of theatrical object, so to speak, like a character in the middle of a space.
But it also makes the person going to the theater feel like they have this museum kind
Absolutely. Which is
energy, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, even like places like Las Vegas, we're seeing like this museum and the art coming
Yes,
in into
yes,
entertainment.
yes.
Which is another new phenomenon. I think that's interesting.
I think we have to keep working for that, and you have to keep doing that. So I want to thank Hraztan Zeitlian for being with us today. And thank you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. We'll see you next time. And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 917. We'll see you next time. So that was great.